Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stollings. You know me here on YouTube as MarauderX, and as always I'm your host for Operation Recap, where I take some of the stories we did at OperationRainfall.com and I throw them here at your face on YouTube and see if they get any more love and attention. This week, just a couple of stories, some big news, but let's see. First off, a little story, Dragon's Crown, that game that we've talked about a couple of times here on the show. It's going to have crossplay between the Vita and the PS3. Which is kind of a big deal because they said it wasn't going to happen, and it's happening. So, not any word on when the patch will be released to do that, but it's going to happen. So, if you were holding off on buying either Dragon's Crown for the Vita or the PS3 because you're like, oh, I can't play with my friends online on the other system, now you can. So, that's the thing. Not that I needed any more reason to buy that, because I love, beat-em-ups, so... next up, just a quick little one. Valve has revealed the Steam Machine betas. They are looking for 300 people to participate in the beta, and you can get one of a couple of variants. The variants include 4 different GPUs, 3 different CPU models, the RAM, storage, power supply, all pretty much the same depending on what version you get, but you've got a range of CPU, GPU variants to give a pretty, in-depth look at what they're looking at as far as specs. All of the GPUs are NVIDIA GeForce GTX variants. The CPUs are all Intel, Core i3, i5, and i7s. So, it's interesting. It's, looking at the specs and sitting here going, that's actually, a pretty interesting gap between an i3 and an i7. So, I'm kind of curious to see. They do have a link where you can click to test your eligibility to see if you can participate in the beta. Again, if you're one of 300 lucky people, you might get one of these. So, go try that out. The link is in the article link, so that's a thing. Next up, lots of mobile news, mostly coming out of square-enix. If you're a lucky person in Japan, you can start playing the Dragon Quest games on your smartphones. Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, depending on where you're at and what entry in the series you're familiar with, because, we kind of changed the name because we do that, I still get confused on the Final Fantasy numbering system. But Dragon Quest 1 through 8 and the Dragon Quest Monsters, I believe the newest one, will be coming to smartphones. And that's kind of a big deal because, the first several of them are, mostly 16-bit titles. Dragon Quest 8 was a PS2 title. So a PS2 title coming to a smartphone, a smartphone, that's kind of a big deal. I'm impressed by that. But as of now, it's only announced for Japan. There is no word on whether or not they will come out in the US. I wouldn't be surprised if they did come out in the US, because Square's actually pretty good about releasing their mobile games, especially if it is Android or iOS, because, that's pretty transferable. Whether or not they do the English versions is the question. So, but they've done most of the Final Fantasies. Like, I can get Tactics on a smartphone. So, what's the deal? And Tactics was a text-heavy game. It's Tactics. So, hopefully there will be an announcement for the US and UK, but as of right now it's just Japan, but it was just also recently announced. So, and speaking of Final Fantasy and Square Enix and mobile gaming, Final Fantasy VI, I think it's really 6, I don't know. Final Fantasy VI 6 is going to come to iOS and Android. Because we are surprised by this at all. They've been putting a lot of their Final Fantasy titles on iOS and Android devices so that they can, get the sales from them, because people have them, and not everyone has a DS, 3DS, Vita, PSP, what have you. So, mobile devices seem to be a nice fit, and as mobile devices are getting stronger, there's really no reason to not have a legitimate copy of these games on these devices when I can actually put emulators. They make emulators for iOS and Android devices, why can't I get a legit copy that, you know, actually has the polish of something that's not a ROM? So, yeah, so 6 is their next entry, and raise your hands if you're surprised by this at all. I'm still waiting for the day that they announce 7. It's going to happen. They're running out of games. They are running out of games to port. It's going to happen one of these days. And if they can do Dragon Quest VIII, which is a PS2 title on a smartphone, they can do Final Fantasy VII, which is a PS1 title on a smartphone. So yeah, that is the recap for this week. I do have a question for you guys, though, in regards to this. Do you think smartphone gaming is going to replace traditional handhelds? I mean, do you really think that this is going to replace a DS? I mean, or do you think that this is just, you know, a fad that people can play Angry Birds and Candy Crush Saga on? Let me know, because I'm actually genuinely curious, because there's a lot of debate on this about the mobile and tablet gaming taking over in the future because of, you know, advances in technology. So I really want to know what you guys think about it, because it could be a big deal, or it could just be another fad. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and till then, stay tuned to Rainfall for all of your news, reviews, previews, and what have you. So I will catch you next week.